Mark Meadows has a book, and he wrote it, I'm sure, hoping that it would have many fans, but he only really needed it to have one on the right, and that would be Donald Trump, and he made a mistake in some of the content in that. Of course, you already know by now that he has revealed Donald Trump's positive COVID test happening earlier than had previously been admitted. Maybe even more fatally, he revealed the actual extent to which Donald Trump was sick when he got COVID. And as a result of that, Trump is not happy at all. And this is apparently a bit of a surprise to Mark Meadows. In the weeks leading up to the book being rolled out, he was privately telling others how much Trump would enjoy it, which I just think is hilarious. Like, maybe he'd enjoy that it exists in theory, but did he think that Donald Trump was gonna like sit down, put on the readers and read his book? Does any right winger actually think that? Anyway, apparently he told, an anonymous source told the Daily Beast he thought Trump was going to love it. Okay, and at one point, Trump was actually pretending that he did. This is back in October. He called Meadows' book a fantastic book about politics, truth, our great administration, and exciting achievements that took place in government, adding that it would make an incredible Christmas present. But if you don't believe me that he doesn't read books, well, he was promoting it until a little bit from it came out, and now he's not so happy. So let's, just in case you hadn't seen, catch you up on a few of the most interesting claims in the book. The former top Trump staffer wrote that the president tested positive for COVID-19 shortly before his October 2020 debate with Joe Biden, and then nonetheless went ahead with an appearance on the debate stage because Trump interpreted a subsequent negative test to be correct rather than his initial positive one. He also, of course, met with Gold Star families. He apparently had close contact with about 500 people, according to one analysis I read. And Meadows and Trump kept the positive test a secret, not just from the public, but also from a number of other prominent officials and senior aides in the administration. So right after that came out, Trump, who apparently had already read the book several months earlier, he would have you believe, called it fake news. And as a result of that, perhaps to get back at the good graces of Trump, Meadows decided to do the same thing, as you'll see here.
I want to start off with the COVID story. The media is going nuts with the story. I believe the president says it's fake news. What is the story here?
Well, the president's right. It's fake news. If you actually read the book, the context of it, that story outlined a false positive. Literally had a test, had 2 other tests after that showed that he didn't have COVID during the debate, and yet the way that the media wants to spin it is certainly to be as negative about Donald Trump as they possibly can, while giving Joe Biden a pass.
Yeah, it's all fake, and I only put it in there, to sell books. But now I'm going to back off because Trump is probably getting mad, and he totally didn't have COVID, even though he was in the hospital, like a hair away from death, like 4 days later. But anyway, despite that, this apology tour that he went on to write his own book, according to 2 sources with knowledge of the matter and another person close to Trump, the ex-president has spent an inordinate amount of the past few days privately railing against Meadows, the revelation in the memoir, and of course the extensive media coverage of the matter, apparently saying that he hates the stupid book, which, to be clear, he still has not read.
Okay, so let me tell you why it happened in the order that it happened. So when someone writes a book, they usually send it out to other people to get quotes, and they'll send it out to famous people, et cetera, that you might recognize. If you're Mark Meadows, obviously you're gonna send it to Trump. And that person is supposed to read the book and then give you a genuine quote. Now, it's very likely to be a positive quote. You have a relationship with that person, that's why you ask them for it. But they're supposed to go through at least some sort of process where they read something, let alone the whole book, and then go, oh my God, it was an amazing book, I really liked it, okay? Do you think Trump did that? Of course he didn't read the book, and he didn't write the quote either. He had some schlep over there write the quote and send it in. So now when it comes out, as John pointed out, of course he still didn't read the book, and he didn't see all the positive things in the book. What is the only thing that Trump saw? The negative things that the press picked out. Because when you read Mark Meadows' book, what is news from Trump's chief of staff? That he, for 80% of the book, 90% of the book, he kisses Trump's ass. That's not news, that's what you would expect.
Interesting,
right?
Yeah.
What's interesting is the times that he disagrees with Trump or points out something that might be damaging to Trump. So those are the ones that get big press attention. So then big baby Trump sees it on Fox News, he's like, oh, what is this? Me no likey, stupid book, stupid. And they're like, well, Donald, you actually wrote a really nice quote about it. Who wrote that? Well, you gave it to Bob to write, right? Fire Bob, Bob's stupid. Like Mark's stupid, okay? Me saw on Fox News. He say not good thing, okay? So look, the guy literally can't read, he can't write. He did a, have presidents do libraries afterwards and they write these big books. Obama got like $20 million for his book or whatever. Trump put out a picture book. I'm not kidding. He was publicizing it on the interview we showed you last night. And so, no, that's why he's outraged. And that's why Meadows is a clown. If you put one sentence that Trump doesn't like in the book, he'll hate you forever and he'll throw you under the bus and he'll tell everybody, I'm very disappointed in my former chief of staff, very disappointed, okay? So you schmuck, how long did you stay with him? You still didn't figure that out?
Yeah.
So now he's got to backpedal and call his own book fake news, which is just hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, and John, I don't know if you remember this, and I think it was Terrell Owens, but a football player wrote an autobiography, but a lot of times those are ghostwriters, right? So when a reporter asked him about a quote from his book, he said he was misquoted. They're like, but you wrote the book, so you misquoted yourself? And he's like, yep. So that's what this is. Mark Meadows, the book I wrote, fake news. Now, guys, I understand the nuance he's trying to do in that clip, saying, I'm not the fake news. The way that the book has been reported is fake news. No, it's in the book.
Yeah, and why is that whole thing in the book at all? To sell the book, because that's interesting and that's news. And he knows exactly what it reveals about Donald Trump, but the whole thing is so fake from top to bottom. Trump didn't read it, as you point out, he has someone else write a positive thing. That toady doesn't even bother to look through the book either, because that toady and Trump and Meadows rightly understand that no one is reading these books. Some reporter or an intern at NBC is gonna have to look through it to see if there's anything newsworthy. Right-wing think tanks will buy up 30,000 copies, so it's a bestseller. They hand it out to people who don't actually read it. No one really reads it. Mark Meadows might not have written it. Like, he's marginally more likely than some random athlete, I guess, to have been involved in the process. But do we believe he sat down at a keyboard for a year and really typed out the whole thing? It's just so fake. I hate everything about, other than yours, political books that are written because they don't actually care. You've seen, it's been destroying him for years. He's really writing his. And when you send it to me, I'll really read it before I give you a quote.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, look, I'm gonna disagree though a little bit because I really want to defend books from the left and not because I'm writing one, justicecomingbook.com. You can pre-order. Okay, look, some of Sorota's books are great. Ryan Grimm's book, We Got People, is great.
True, yeah. By the way, Tom Hartman writes tons of good books.
Tom Hartman is.
I've had him on like 5 times on my show.
Me too. You should read Tom Hartman's books. They're incredibly educational. We Got People, by the way, by Ryan Grimm is at shoptyt.com. But it's not just the plugs. In all seriousness, Thomas Frank, by the way, wrote a great book, What's the Matter with Kansas? It was a critique of the Republican Party. Then he wrote a brilliant book that was a critique of the Democratic Party. Then I had him on the show. I said, you know, Tom, you used to be on MSNBC and cable news all the time. What happened? He's like, when I wrote the book against the Democratic Party, they immediately stopped inviting me on television. Sure. So that's a super interesting, and so there's some great left-wing books you never got to read because the press basically, yeah, and almost de facto censors it, right? And so now, but back to the right wing, the entire right wing book thing is a scam. I believe that some of Bill O'Reilly's books were actually read by real people because he had a big audience, and he writes very simplistically, which I don't mind at all. Hey, to each his own, right? He's like, who killed JFK? Obviously the lizard people. Are like, oh, they're thumbing through that thing and they like it, right? And so, but every other book they write is total horse crap. No one reads it. Those giant think tanks funded by billionaires put it on, buy enough in bulk to put it on the bestseller list so that it gets extra hype, so that other people, so that the media will talk about it and it will influence the national conversation. Yeah. So, like,
well, and it gives them the title. They get to say when they go on the news, they're not just random blowhard, they're a New York Times bestselling author. They'll keep it in their Twitter bio for the rest of their life, even if they never write anything else. It buys them supposed credibility.
Yeah, and what it does, guys, is number one, it makes the right wing guy look more credible. So it makes the press more likely to quote them. I mean, that is Mark Meadows, New York Times bestseller. We got to quote that guy, right?
Yeah.
So that allows them to push their message and their propaganda out more. And it makes the media take it more, the message in the book more seriously. Like, oh, well, I mean, he said we should give tax cuts for the rich, and it's a New York Times bestseller. Americans love tax cuts for the rich. And the media actually wants to say that BS.
Yeah.
It gives them an excuse to say it. Now, how do we know for sure? And a great example just happened. Chris Christie put out his book, but apparently it didn't have enough juice in the billionaire circles and the think tanks, et cetera. And it certainly didn't have enough juice in the Trump circles because he's now criticizing Trump. And it sold like 3 copies. And it was humiliating. And Chris Christie's one of the biggest Republican politicians in the country. So when they don't cheat, no one reads their books.
Yep.
No one. And so other than the interns at NBC and Washington Post to pick it apart like this. And so that's why now they got this fight. But Meadows, can he recover? Well, he's got to spend the next 6 months kissing Trump's ass on the right, on the left, in the middle. He's got to do whatever he's got to do and go out on television anywhere where Trump might be watching and humiliate himself over and over again. I'm fake news, I'm the worst. Maybe he'll bring those Opus Dei things, be like,
Flog himself?
Flog himself, right? Oh, I'm so sorry. And his mantra is like, oh, I'm sorry, Trump, I'm sorry, Trump, I'm sorry, Trump. And so you're gonna see that a couple more times in the news before Trump then says, okay, maybe I forgive you, a little bit later, okay? Yeah. So that's what you're seeing right now.
What a sad existence. Oh God, okay. You wanna move on to something different?
I'll say one super last thing about that. The reason why there's a little bit of truth in that book and the damaging stuff is because the publisher is like, dude, we gotta sell this book, okay? So you have to give me at least 2 to 3 things that are true, because the rest of it is obvious nonsense. Oh, Trump's a hero or whatever. He's like, okay, write it. That'll help sell it to Trump fans, right? And to the think tanks, right? But give me a couple of things that'll get in the news so that it'll get a lot of publicity.
Yeah.
And so that's left to his own devices, he wouldn't have put anything true in the book. So
More interesting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, just like try to imagine a right winger like sitting down in a nice comfy chair and reading Mark Meadows' book. You can't do it. It's impossible. Who would do that?
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.